Electricast.
Welcome to Psychic Visions Podcast. This is your host, Jason Zook.
And this is Megan Kane. We're in the midst of a spiritual revolution. Our mission is to share and explore mysteries of the paranormal universe with our guests and you, our listeners, as we discuss healing, spirituality, life after death, and more.
Psychic Visions Podcast, more than meets the eye.
Hey guys, welcome back to Psychic Visions. We're your hosts, Megan.
And Jason.
And we're so excited to be back with you guys.
I thought about us recording today and I was like smiling all day. Just very excited about it.
Me too. I'm so happy to be back in action. And there has been so much that has happened since we last recorded, since we released some of our last episodes from last year. And we've loved hearing from all of you guys. We've been getting your feedback, your emails, and we really look forward to getting to know you guys more. So definitely hit us up on our social media accounts.
Instagram will be in the show notes, so we'll have that information available for anyone who wants to check us out. I like the idea of what we're doing now because I want to share with our audience. Megan and I have been being creative together. Had an opportunity to really hang out with her recently. It's so much fun hanging out with your best friend and then planning a show with them. But one of the things we're coming up with, we're addressing the UFOlogy of, I feel that it's everywhere. And
Right.
I think we have to address it because Megan, you and I both can be on the record and say we believe in UFOs because we've witnessed them. And you've had different degrees of it more than me, but I've witnessed it with you on at least more than one occasion.
That's right.
And I think it's great that we can bring this into the show.
We thought it would be the perfect segue into coming back because there's been so much UFO disclosure happening globally from the US to Russia. There's Roswell, of course, and there's been slow little leaks here and there. But the real truth bomb was released in 2001 at the original Disclosure Project conference. And then again, just in these last few months and last year in 2023, they actually got before Congress. So we're going to touch on that today, guys. We're going to go back and share with you all the information that we know on the original disclosure that happened in 2001. And we'll, of course, add any of the links in the show notes. So Jason, did you ever hear about the 2001 disclosure when that happened?
At that time, I was practicing as a lawyer. I didn't really have the post.
My first time seeing a UFO that I remembered as an adult was at 18 behind my dad's house. I was out sitting behind his house with a girlfriend of mine in Tampa. Yeah, on the water. And no, this was off West Shore. This is his house off West Shore. But it was on the open.
But for anyone in the audience, it's an area in Tampa. How would you describe it? In South Tampa?
So it's in South Tampa. They call them the fingers because they're like peninsulas that come out. I think they're man-made in Tampa. So they're all on the water and they look out at the different bridges. So we were at the end, so we could see. So it was Gandy Bridge far away on one side and it was the Pinellas Bridge on the other side. So you could look out and just look out at the water. So we were out there just hanging out talking and I saw this light coming. It was coming pretty much straight at us and it was in our atmosphere. So at first I thought it was a plane and I didn't think anything of it. My friend was talking and I was just listening to her, but focusing on this light, like heading in our direction. There's no blinking lights. It's just a solid white light and it's hovering and it's just going straight at us, but at a slower speed, which I thought was weird for how low it was. And then it just stopped. It just completely stopped moving and hovered there over like the black water of the bay. So I'm looking at it and I'm thinking like, what is this? At first I thought it was a plane, then it stopped and I'm like, it must be a helicopter. And of course, this is happening really fast in my head, but of course my friend's talking and I don't want to interrupt her. I'm looking at the thing and I have to interrupt her. And I'm like, Katie, I was going to say, what is that? And as soon as I said, Katie, it went boop and literally shot off into nothing, into space. My brain could not wrap around what I saw.
What did you think?
She was like, what is what? And I was like, oh my God, Katie, I just saw a UFO. And she's like, what? And I told her what had just happened. And I was just so mind boggled by what I saw because it was so low and it was a bright light. And I've watched many planes over in my dad's backyard and I've never seen, it just took off and it's not physically possible at that point in my brain. I just couldn't wrap my head around it. And I knew what I saw was a UFO.
When you first realized you had your first real psychic mediumship experience, or you had your first real psychic experience, versus seeing your first UFO, you get a paradigm shift between both those circumstances, right? How about that?
It happened to me when I was a kid first, when I was like telling these stories that would pop in my head and then they come true. And I started talking myself out of it. Like, oh my God, like God, I thought God was making, I know I've told you this, my God is making my lies come true, or these stories that pop in my head. So that was a weird thing. I thought I was going crazy. Then I had some experiences where I was little. I felt like I was leaving my body in the car. I know it was this weird thing, and I would have to focus
the first time we
things.
met each other. We talked about
Yeah, that was the first time we met. We talked about this. I know, right? I don't think we've talked about this since that first night. So many years ago.
And now we're doing the first time on the air.
I know. So I would like this. I'm going off subject. We'll have to come back to this on like an astral projection episode again. But I would leave my body and I would have to focus on points in the car so that when I was getting relaxed in the car, because in the car, it's very meditative for me. I like always fall asleep or just get into the zone. And I would pop out of my body and it was just the weirdest thing. So I thought I was going crazy, literally as a kid, didn't want to tell anybody. And I would just focus on the back of the seat, like the seat headrest in front of me, because I was in the back seat. I would focus on one spot in the car, like to stay present, to stay in this like dimension, which is so crazy. And even at the time I was like, what is happening to me? I didn't understand. So yeah, so you're right. Every time I've had these crazy spiritual wakings or things that I can't explain, it is a shift in my paradigm. It is a complete shift in my reality. And I know you've had these experiences your whole life too.
Yeah, I was just thinking something I want to ask you about. When you were a little girl, I don't know age. When I was a little boy, like I'm saying like maybe under age 5, I remember having deja vu moments.
Yes.
Where I feel like I was going through my daily routine ahead of time and knew what I was going to do. And I guess that was like certain psychic stuff developing. And I don't know if you've had what your experience, if you had something like that yourself, because I know we talk about this stuff sometimes, but not like the detail. But have you ever had those deja vu moments as a child? Because I know it was something I really spoke a lot about. And I remember my grandma told me, don't bring it up to people. They don't understand. So I just kept my mouth shut after that.
I had deja vu all of the time. And of course I still do. And I think it was more like prevalent for me when I was younger, because I was like, wait, what is this feeling? Why does this feel so strange? Does this feel like an out of body experience? And at the same time, deja vu. What was happening as I got older, all of a sudden it was like almost like a deja vu / daydream. And it only happened a handful of times, but it would be like a feeling of deja vu. And then I'd have a flash of the next sequence of things that were going to happen. And it would be nothing. It wasn't like Final Destination, like where it's like, like it was just like something really simple. Someone's going to pull up next to me and then they're going to cut me off. And then I'm not going to be able to get into the lane that I need to get in to take a right or something. And that's an example of something that had happened to me where I saw it happen before it happened. So yeah, so there's so many strange things that made me really shift in my reality. This sighting was the first one. And as far as UFOs go, because of course I had the psychic weird stuff, the things that I thought were ghosts. I thought I was living in haunted places, but I'm just a medium. There's different things I couldn't explain, but I didn't realize how interconnected everything was. And that was something that I didn't put together till later in life. But after I saw that UFO, I went the next day to the library, because this is like pre-Google and before Ask Jeeves. There wasn't like the information on the internet back then the way it is now. So I went straight to the library and I rented all 7 books out, and they were on ET, UFO, and basically anything extraterrestrial UFO related that I could find. And in the library, it was a limited section, but there was like at least 20 books on it back then. I was able to do a lot of research myself. And that's what really started my fascination with. I saw something that just changed my perspective. And since then I was seeking people who would be open to talk to me about it, because back then, now 2024, people are talking about it. We're going to get into it on this episode. The government has come out and confirmed all of these things, because different governments, the Russian government said that they've had warfare, they've had some kind of warfare with ET or UFOs.
Like exercise?
There's something that they released right when the disclosure happened in 2023. There was I'll have to look it up. We'll have to put it in our notes or something, but Russia definitely said something along the lines of, it was on News Nation. If you look it up on YouTube, it's like Russia had also released information if they've had in exchanges with stuff that they don't have the technology for. They would consider it a UFO. And this episode, guys, could go on for hours. We might have to break this into sections because we've had so many experiences. And since then, and that was when I was 18. I'm 40 years old now. So I have asked so many people and done my own research the last 20. And then I've been researched. I started reporting the UFOs to Euphoric for you guys out there. That's the National UFO Reporting Center. Been around for a while, working close in hand with MUFON. And of course, I'm sure NASA too. But they are the ones collecting all of the evidence since the internet was up when it was like caveman style back in the day. They've been collecting all of these reports. So we'll get into it. I know that Jason, you are phenomenal. And I'm just going to jump into something a little about relating to my experiences with UFOs and ET and Jason. Jason and I, when we met, it was all about our psychic abilities and mediumship and reading for each other and understanding.
Think about that for a minute. Think about it. It's like we were two characters introduced to each other, and we had like this immediate connection on the psychic spiritual realm that I never had with anyone else. Nobody else compared.
Right.
And you shattered that paradigm that, I can't be an open psychic. I'm a lawyer. I can't do both.
We had to, and then you broke me out of my like shyness too of reading for strangers too. We both did that for each other, as a lot of our listeners know. The thing is, I hadn't talked to you about UFO stuff. It's another subject. I don't know. We already talked about so many other things, and I hadn't shared that with you. And guys, things I've tried to hide from Jason as his best friend, it's
Good
like
luck.
impossible. Good luck. Yeah. And same with him with me. When he tries to fib at me, I'm like, yeah, buddy. Anything I've hid or something that even I maybe blocked subconsciously or to protect myself, he's been able to pull out of me to help me heal myself or to face a mirror that I need to see. And one of the things you made me see, which is Freaky Friday, is so scary, guys. Not really. I'm over it now. But back then, it made my head spin a few times. I had never shared with him my UFO experiences. And I have a lot. This could be a whole freaking series of the things I've witnessed and seen. And with witnesses, not just myself, I never told Jason about this stuff. And sure enough, one day we're sitting at his bar at his house, and he was like, you were abducted on the beach with your friends. And I about fell out of the bar stool. I was like, what? No, I wasn't. I was frozen. And he's, no, you were abducted. And just to give you some backstory, guys, I was on the beach on Anna Maria Island with some friends. And this is after I'd had quite a few UFO encounters. I had the intention to show my friends that night, but they weren't really into what I'm into. This is like a doctor and a realtor. And then my ex-boyfriend who was, I don't even know what he did anymore. I'm out there on the beach with my friends, and we see a light coming, and it's coming over from Egmont Key from the Gulf going out into the Gulf. And we're like on the last barrier island. And sure enough, we're on the beach. This light comes over us. All of a sudden it's over us. And it is a ship. And it is the first like ship that I remember seeing up to that point of my life, because they block your memory, of course, from some of these things if you're a person who sees them sometimes. But anyway, went over all four of us, and it was the size of the football field. It was definitely metal. It had no sound and a buzzing, like a vibration sound. It was like, zzz, and it took over your body. It was complete, the most crazy sound and feeling you've ever had. And then I went to go.
Paralysis?
It gave me, yes. That's what happened next. So I went to go run. I felt like the buzzing and heard it. And I was in awe looking up at it. Just, what am I looking at? I'd never seen anything like that. And then, so my instinct was like, go run and hide in the sand dunes. Like I was thinking I need to go hide or get away from this thing. I don't know what this is. And of course, my human instinct is to run in fear. And so when I go to run, I'm like, boop, like about to run. And then boom, I'm frozen. I literally can't move. I can't even explain it. I'm literally in running man position, like literally looking like I'm about to take off. I'm completely frozen, but I can move my eyes and I can see. But as soon as I get frozen, simultaneously I hear on in my left ear, don't move. And Jason, I don't know, because you hear things.
Just do.
As a side, sometimes you can actually hear it either telepathically, you hear it in your mind, like in another voice, or you hear it with your actual ear. I actually heard it with my ear and my head, like all over within my entire being, don't move. And at the same time, I was frozen. So I'm frozen. All my friends are frozen as this thing like goes off to sea. And then it just goes into the Gulf. And as it goes into the Gulf, it leaves the island, I'm unfrozen and I'm just like in awe watching it. Oh my God. It just goes off into the Gulf, into blackness. Again, no sound. It had that one light coming off the front. And one of my girlfriend remembers like a light on the back of it. I was in such awe and shock. I didn't really register that part, but we all registered it. It's the same size, a huge football, like a house floating through the air, but like the size of a football field. It was massive. We thought we were frozen. And Veronica, my friend, was like, no, we were abducted. She's like, we lost 2 hours. We were abducted. And I was, no, we were frozen.
2 hours.
2 hours, 1 to 3. So I was, Jason, I don't know. I literally, but that's the weird part is my vision. There was no gap for me. I was frozen in the same place. And I watched that ship go over my head, over the tree line, like just over the tree line, like maybe 250 feet in the air. And then literally right off the island. So that was the strange thing is I didn't feel that gap. I didn't feel like I was taken. So then fast forward to, this is crazy, guys. Bear with me here. Fast forward to my vacation to the Bahamas years later to go see my husband's sister get married. On the way back from the airport, I'm going through the metal detector thing. And this is back when, before everybody went through those things, it was back when 1 in 20 people got selected. They like hand selected.
You pulled aside, correct.
You got pulled aside to go through them. So not everybody went through them. And this is getting back to America. So apparently it was like, they're checking people. So I get picked to go through the thing, me and actually my husband, and we get picked to go through the metal detector. I go through it and it goes off. And Jason, I knew psychically something was up. I just knew it. I was like, oh my God, because I knew I didn't have any metal on me. And he's, ma'am, the officer or whatever, what's in your wrist? And I'm like, what? And he's, what's in your wrist? And Jason freaked me out. I got chills through my body. I knew I had some type of weird alien implant, something in my arm. I didn't know how to explain it. I didn't know what it was. And I said, sir, I don't have anything in my arm. He's like, yes, you do. And I said, no, I don't. And I showed him my arm. I said, look, no scars. And I have nothing on my wrist. I've never had surgery on my wrist. He's like, I've never had anything put in there. I don't have anything in my arm. And he's, this thing says you do. So I'm like freaked out. And I said, can I come see it? Can I come look at it? Because he was looking at the screen as he was like telling me this thing says you do. He was pointing at the screen. So I go through it. He lets me through, or he lets me go whatever, like to where he's at. And I go look at the screen, and sure enough, it's a position of a little humanoid figure. And it has how they have your hands up in the position they have you with your legs apart. And sure enough, my left wrist area was circled in the bottom of my right leg. So I super focus on that wrist because something's in your wrist. And Jason, it was a freaking bar in my wrist, guys. It was like whiter than the bone. It was more dense. Whatever the material was, more dense than bone, a perfect rectangle. And describe to you guys like the size of it. I would say it's like the width of the lead inside of a number 2 pencil and not even an inch long. And it was a perfect rectangle. It looked like it was Xerox copied onto the screen. It was totally bizarre. And I had to take it in, and I was like, I have no idea what's happening. I don't know what's going on. And then he let me through. He ended up letting me through.
When was that? In 2002?
This one is 2015, August of 2015. So I'm like, what the hell? And I knew what was happening. And I was so freaked out. And I was like, Brian, what the hell? What the hell? So I was freaked out, and I went home. And when I got back home, I actually reached out to this lady I know at MUFON, because guys, there's a lot of stories here, but at this point I'm in contact with MUFON. I had made some reports that they came and investigated. And now I've got this relationship with people at MUFON. And that, again, that's probably another episode. And long story short, I have this evidence, and I write her in the Facebook Messenger, still have the messages. And I tell her what my experience was. So here I am years later in Jason's living room, never told him about my UFO experience.
2016, by the way.
Yeah. That was like part of myself that I was still very closeted about. Like I did not, even when MUFON or whatever reached out to me because I'd made this report on Euphoric where other people had reported the same thing in the area. So they came to investigate and talk to me and blah, 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 this whole thing. So here I am, never talked to Jason about this because this was something I was very closeted about. Because I was like, it's one thing to be psychic and spiritual, and at least I can have proof to people. I can be like, hey, this is what your grandma says or whatever.
Yeah.
There's some kind of proof with what we do with our abilities. But telling people, hey, I saw a freaking machine flying through the air that was anti-gravity that froze me, or I'm telling people the other experiences I've had along these things. Like this podcast is really the first time I'm really publicly talking
Opening
about
up it. Yeah.
Lo and behold, I'm in Jason's living room. Didn't tell him any of this stuff. Was like,
we paint the scene for a minute. We have all our crystals around us.
oh my God. Yeah. So crystals, and we're having our spiritual
meditating.
talk. We're hanging out. And we're already in the zone. And basically you look at me and you said this, I'll repeat it again. You were abducted on the beach with your friends. There was 4 of you. He even said the amount of people that were there. He said you and 3 of your friends is actually how you worded it. So you and 3 of your friends were abducted on the beach. And I said, no, I'm getting chills telling you this right now. Oh my God. So anyway, I said, no, we were frozen, Jason. That did happen, but we were frozen. And you looked me in the eyes and you said, no, you were abducted. And then I argued back in my denial. And I said, no, frozen. And then you said, no, you were abducted. You have implants, one in your left arm and one in your right leg. Or you said left arm and right leg, literally the exact spots that were circled on that teleprompter thing when I went through that security scan. And it just, I couldn't remember. I could not believe it, Jason. And I was like, Jason, holy crap, that did happen.
A lot of moments like that.
Yeah.
We always have moments like
that. We have moments like that this week. What are you talking about? It's constantly happening with us. Yes. So basically, I'm in shock. I can't believe that you've said this. You've picked this up. And now I already knew this, guys, because MUFON actually told me this in my 20s after they asked me some questions. They interviewed me. They wanted to know all about my abilities, things I had seen, and basically told me, hey, they follow bloodlines. These aliens follow bloodlines. They are doing their own research. They follow bloodlines. So they asked me who in my family had seen them. And again, a lot of people on my mom's side of the family have seen unidentified flying objects or had some kind of paranormal experience surrounding that. So Jason picked this up. I was like, oh my God, now I got to open up to Jason about this other crazy part of my life. And I opened up you to it, Jason, right? Because you hadn't even seen a shooting star before then. You were from Jersey, like you're from the big city.
I'm from Manhattan. So
right.
There's more likely
so Jason is from the city, and then he goes to a million colleges, and then he goes to start his law firms. And so he's been busy bee since Manhattan days, basically. So it took me to get him into nature, I think, and get him reconnected to that side of himself and embracing that side of himself. And so, guys, since then, that was my mission. When I started opening up and he was able to read my experiences that I've had. And again, guys, this is 22 years of experiences that I've had with you, with ET. That's a jump there, but yes, I've actually seen an ET, and I've actually had encounters with UFOs with my friends. So Jason and I actually saw one years ago. What was that, like 4 or 5 years ago?
Longer than that. It had to be
Really?
2018 or 2019.
Oh my gosh, we're getting old. But yeah,
Ah.
time flies. So I had the intention to show Jason, which I've actually been able to do. All of my ex-boyfriends have seen UFOs or had encounters. All of my besties that I've gotten close with over the years have had experiences with me. It literally took us 2 times, Jason and I, 2 times to go to nature. The first time he wasn't feeling good. So he was like laying down, his eyes were closed. You weren't
right after my surgery, remember? I had
yes, you had your cancer surgery. So you weren't feeling well the first time, and nothing really happened. We did have a lot of people out there that time too, so that might have deterred it, but we had a lot of people out there, a big bonfire. The second time, just a few weeks later?
About a month later.
About a month later, we go back out. We go with just 2 people and just the 4 of us. Jason and I are sitting there, and sure enough, one shows up right over the tree line.
And you and I see it.
Yes. We
saw it together. And it those 90-degree angles I'd never seen anything in our reality could do. And I also connected with it. on a psychic level, correct, intuitive level, and I felt their energy, and I felt them say, "Don't move. We're not here to harm you. Keep in our direction. You keep in yours." Something like that. Keep separate.
Yeah. I
We're-
think I think I remember you saying like, you were trying to tune in. They're like, no, like you can't stop trying to tune into our energy.
Yeah,
We're
they
good.
felt.
We're
I
just
felt
here.
them
Mhm.
pissed off at me for trying to meditate into the energy and seeing what that's all about.
They were like trying to block it a little bit,
Oh, it was freaky. They
but
were
it
like,
was really crazy. Yeah, they can do that. And so you can literally manifest them there with the intention. So it was basically a bright light, y'all. It came in a sphere. So I've seen them shooting across the sky, doing different angles. I've seen them like glowing, flashing. And this time it was like a huge sphere right over the tree line, bright, and it flashed like a huge flash at us, then went back to the sphere shape, then did it
Cut off.
completely went to the right, and then straight down, making a 90-degree angle,
Yeah.
and then to the left, making another 90-degree angle, and then
Oh,
it
that
shot off, and then it shot off into space.
correct. I got that
Into
last
nothing.
part.
Brian saw it, but Brian was facing our direction. So Brian saw our reaction, my husband, and he turned around and he saw the tail end of it. So he didn't see the 90-degree angles, like when it did the few different turns before it took off. And so I was always wondering, I think that might be I don't know if that's like just to show off. So basically, guys, we saw that. We knew what it was. We felt the energy, the way it took off, and the way it was like right over the tree line and then literally shot off into space, into nothing, like just disappeared. So we saw that together, right, guys? So we've had these experiences together. We've tuned into different people that we've read for that have also had experiences like this, that we've helped navigate their experience.
I feel like they've been doing a trip approach to get us prepared. And
I
they have
agree.
kind of the governments of the world, I think, are in on this.
100%. And we definitely need to get, guys, we will definitely get some people from MUFON on the show, since I know I've interacted with a bunch of them, and so has Jason. We'll get them on there because I've been privy to some of this. They told me some of this information about the information that they've collected. They've done a lot of field research, collected a lot of data from people like you and I, to military professional, to there's a lot of people who come forward. And that's like what the whole disclosure is about. And that's what's been happening. So they have been coming forward. The government has been releasing, declassifying a lot of their documents, and they're putting the information out there for people who are ready, people who want to know, people who can wrap their heads around it. Some people just don't even want to know. They're like, I don't want to know.
It's going to cause the unraveling society as they fear. When you watch Independence Day and they have the people with the signs protesting, "Take me, please."
I think that was part of it. I do think, because there was mass hysteria when the Roswell crash happened in the late 40s. They printed on the newspaper, UFO crash. This really did happen. And there's so many documents. I've been to Roswell twice, actually. And I've been to the UFO museum, and they have the sealed documents. They are like sealed, stamped, signed and delivered documents that this did happen. And this was a cover up. We all know that. Just like they said Area 51 didn't exist when Bob Lazar came out in the 80s and was like, I worked at this place. I was doing the back engineering of these UFOs. And I remember seeing that. Do you remember that from like the 80s? Because I was a kid and I remember seeing that man on TV and being like, he is telling the truth. Like, I believed him so hardcore, and I was in elementary.
The full reveal will happen in our lifetime. It's going to happen. I predict.
It's already happening.
I
just think that
like
they can't.
2027, I feel like something might happen. That's going to be
You
big.
were saying that the other day, that you were predicting that. And I think, of course, that has to be the direction it goes, because things are happening. We have the incidents so the Disclosure Project happened in 2023. Then short after, we have that Vegas incident. And for you guys out there that don't know, there's so much information, guys. Go on YouTube, look it up. But there was a crash in Vegas where people saw it. Cops saw it. They got it on their dash cams or whatever.
Body cam footage.
Body cam. Thank you. There's body cam footage, and then there's dash cam footage that there was a green comet looking thing shooting through our atmosphere. And then on other ring dash cams, there's some kind of noise or explosion. And then they've got
bone chilling when you hear it.
It is. And they have these 911 calls that come in afterward. And there's a family there that claims that they saw 8, 9, 10, some kind of large 10-foot creature in their backyard. They're describing it as pretty much like a tall gray, as was in UFOlogy. They're saying there's short grays and tall grays. They're describing it as a tall gray, something that looks like a creature with big eyes, nose and mouth. green in color. They described it as green in color. But so basically, they reported these beings and they're dead serious. And the body cam footage, guys, like these people are so believable. Yeah. Why would they call 911? It's one thing to like make
an actor.
Right.
This is real.
Why would you call if you're going to just make a stupid fake claim, just go on TikTok. Like what are the odds? So the police did investigate this because they saw it crash. They have it on video. They have simultaneously a few minutes later, someone calling in saying something crashed in our backyard. There's these two large beings in our yard. So of course they investigated. They said that they couldn't find anything after they looked around, but there was some weird, maybe evidence that they found, like a ring in the backyard and green light coming down. Correct. And there's another video that's
of that alien thing. Yeah.
Of the ring camera from the landlord's video. So what is on that video, guys, is it's just like a tall being, and you could see it. It's like a gray, like figure going behind the gate. And then, so people, of course, are trying to debunk it. They want to the skeptics are out there. And of course, we want the truth no matter what, whether it's a hoax or real, we want the truth. It was investigated, and it was investigated by some guy who's done it for 30 years. He's a
renowned expert.
Yeah, he's a renowned expert for 30 years. That's what his profession is he's here to say this didn't happen. And he's saying without a shadow of a doubt, that is an actual entity in that frame that is not added in the way it moves behind the fence. So guys, you can find that online too. And that I think it was on.
You can put that stuff in the show notes.
Yeah, we'll put it in the show notes. It's just, there is so much evidence here of what we're talking about. And it's really wild. So then we have the Vegas incident. And then right after that, the Miami incident.
I guess there was an incident that happened at a mall in Miami, and that they got on video this 10-foot alien being, I guess you would call it, extraterrestrial. And there were like 70 cop cars surrounding this thing.
Okay.
Yep. Go ahead.
Yes. So you got it. So it was basically, there was a whole bunch of 911 calls coming in at the mall. There was a disturbance at the mall. The eyewitnesses are saying that they saw 9, 8, 10 foot, these huge tall beings in the mall, and they were like partially cloaked, which means they were like, you can see them, can't.
Translucent.
Translucent. So they were screaming, and it started making these kids run and scream. So then that's what they're saying is a riot. So then the cops are called, and then 70 cop cars show up a few miles from South Beach in this area where this mall is. And why aren't they inside? Where are all these kids? The video I see that they're releasing from this chopper that was like the helicopter that was going around shows all the cop cars surrounding what looks like a staircase or some kind of water fountain, something that has like levels going up. And there is clearly something in the picture, and it looks like they're surrounding it.
And it's not a gang.
Not a gang. It's one being, and it looks massive, in my opinion, like the way you're eyeing it out compared to the size of the car, the distance from the car, and the distance from the helicopter, saying that it's
like spatially, you could just tell it's not a human being.
It's not human. And then the cops are saying, oh yeah, that was definitely a human. Why would it be an ET? Why would it be anything else? And of course they're going to say that. Why would they say the truth? Because that is a slow leak that's happening. I really believe that some people are sworn to secrecy. I believe that some people aren't supposed to talk about this. I believe it's like slowly drip to us, the information of what we can handle, slowly. And it's on their agenda. It really is. And we've had people trying to force the agenda and push it. There's been senators. McCain has pushed for that. Now that they are unclassifying these documents, it's showing that there is information, that there's definitely senators that know about it because they're asking for more information. Why are they wanting, and it's in documents that they're trying to get more information about it. They want to know more. This is serious to them, and they don't think it's a joke. So yeah, so what the whole UFO thing, it's taken a whole new light, like really with the public, with the government, and they're taking it more seriously, and they're not trying to make it like this whole like, oh, you must be crazy if you believe in.
They don't expect you to be wearing aluminum foil hats anymore when you talk about this stuff.
Exactly. And I think that's that whole thing why they're not calling them UFOs anymore. They're calling them UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomenons or whatever, because I think it's because the stigma that they've surrounded around the stigma around UFO and calling them UFOs. I think there's too much of a stigma now, which they created. There's so much information out there on it. And we have videos. We actually have a video. I signed the rights to Discovery Channel and MUFON. I don't know if anything ever came of that. We'll have to reach out to them, Jason. But a few years ago, my nephew actually captured a UFO during the day on his cell phone. And it's clear as day. You could see the entire like spiral of energy around it. It's like pulsating. It's just insane.
Is that by the beach too?
Which one?
By the beach?
No, this one was actually over in Odessa, like in the woods, like Keystone area at my mom's house. He was in her backyard and she's got all these like woods and lake and stuff. And
there's a lake there too.
Yeah, 2 lakes and spring fed. So there's a lot of, I don't know, natural resources. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, he saw something coming at him and he was just on his phone goofing off at 6 something in the morning, woke up really early. And he saw it and he knew exactly what it was. He was like, oh my God, that's UFO. So he was already on his phone. So he pulled it out to take a picture and he actually got a moving photo, guys. So we're going to figure out a way to upload that either to our YouTube or somehow we'll link it. But we have a video and it is insane. I'll have to do like a screen recording to make a video of it or something, but it is insane. And it is the craziest video I've personally ever had my hands on.
It's very persuasive and convincing too.
It's very convincing. And most of the time when I see these things, it's been like 1 a.m. or I'm camping or I'm out on the beach at night and I don't have my phone next to me, or I'm in such shock or awe that picking up my phone and even taking my eyes off of it for 1 second is like the last thing I'm thinking about.
I'm excited about this disclosure stuff. That we're able to understand it as not something on the fringe of society, but it's becoming more accepted in the mainstream. Everything that we're talking about right now, it's so critical for us to have these conversations so that we can expand our own viewpoints. And I think if you can go into this, listening to this and having an open mind, you will likely be persuaded.
Just keep an open mind. And guys, do your own research. Go and look up the press conference from 2001. It was in Washington, D.C., and we'll have the links for you. Watch, it's 3 hours long, but guys, it's worth it. There is a guy on there who he was in charge of collecting crashed craft crafts that have gone down. And he also cataloged, he said, over 50 different species that have been visiting the planet, which is insane. So not just the grays, not just the ones that we've heard of in mainstream media. He said he personally cataloged over 50 different species visiting Earth.
Who are we to deny that we would be the only life form in this world, in this universe that has intelligent life? So we would be rather idiotic to think that we're just the only things out there. I'm sorry, with all the plethora of planets and star systems, and it's just strategically, you can't look at it. There's going to be conflict at some point where you can't deny it even at all.
You really, yeah, I agree. And the information is out there, as they say. The information is out there. Go and look it up. Watch the videos on YouTube about the Disclosure Project in 2001. Go and watch the testimonies, because the Disclosure Project was about all those people coming forward and saying, we're from the military, we're from sections of the government, we're from NASA, we're from the FAA. These are like trusted branches of our society, of our military, keeping our nation going. And these are trusted people that we're entrusting everything in. And they're coming forward and saying, hey guys, this is happening. I have evidence. Either I'm sworn to secrecy or I was told not to say anything or whatever. This is information that the public needs to know and deserves to know. So that's what happened in 2001. And they said that they are ready to testify under oath before Congress that what they're saying is true. And a lot of them actually had evidence, had paperwork, had recordings, had other things that they took from their place of work or whatever, or just had. All these people came forward. The problem is it didn't happen until 2023. It took over 20 years.
Slow drip.
Right. So that, again, over 400 people came forward. Half those people aren't living anymore. A lot of those people were older military guys who were like, hey, I'm at the end of my career. I'm ready to come forward.
Approach. Think about it. It has to be a strategic approach by the government.
Oh, it's 100% strategic. And I think I'm not sure, even the guys that are coming forward now, like the 2 guys that are the main testifiers, so to speak, and before Congress, the people that are coming forward and being the front man for the disclosure of the information. I'm wondering sometimes if some of these guys are like, maybe not the original, maybe they're almost like, I don't know. I feel like the government has something still, their hands still in the disclosure. I feel like,
I'm
because
sure
they're even
there's
saying,
something-
I can't tell everything. They're saying under oath, I can't say everything.
Probably national security grounds, they will say.
Definitely. There's some things they can't say, some things they can. But these people back in 2001 were ready to tell it all. So anyway, guys, there's so much information out there, and we definitely need to, we'll come back with another episode on this because there's so many more
I'll share this with our audience because we were talking
stories
about.
to tell.
I feel very strongly that we should create a series within our show about this because it's just such an important topic.
I
So
agree.
we have a number of episodes around the same theme, which is creating a greater understanding of what this phenomenon is all about.
Definitely.
And from our own personal perspectives, having other people who are
Yeah.
aligned with what we're talking about come on the show.
Mhm.
We'll be a platform for them and make it part of our series.
I love that. I will get some of the people that I've met over the years, and I don't know, I'm hoping some of the people that I know would come forward. Some of the people, for example, that are my dad's friends that aren't even in our line of work, people who are in like construction or real estate who've told me stories. There's one guy I know who says he was sworn to secrecy, swears up and down. He's one of my dad's very credible friends and swears he was working in Alaska and saw something up there and was sworn to secrecy. I know that I think Edgar Mitchell is his name. He was an astronaut who came forward in 2008 saying aliens are real. I know I went to space. I know a lot of people up there that went up there and they are real and it's happening. And he did say that he disclosed that the government is doing disclosure, where before they would threaten you, take away your livelihood like they did to Bob Lazar. If you disclose any of this information that you were not supposed to put out there in the public. So anyway, people were getting punished and now they're not, he's saying. Now it's like, hey, they're just letting it happen. So on that note, guys, sleep tight. Just kidding. Have nice dreams. Just
Creepy sounding. I'll say this. I love this first episode going back into it. We go into the deep of it. We're talking about UFOlogy stuff, which I think is so credible and so important. And we need to do it.
Definitely.
And I'm grateful that you were able to give us that narrative overview because you have these facts that in time, hopefully will help other people understand our point of view on this, that disclosure is necessary and we should support it and we should advocate for it. And we should get our government to open up more about what it knows in the international community as well.
100%. And the next episode, guys, we'll talk to you about the experience we literally just had this week where we actually had our second experience together seeing UFO activity. So we'll talk about that next week, guys, because it was pretty wild what we witnessed just this week. And I really look forward to getting your feedback on this. So definitely give us feedback. We want to hear from our listeners too. What are your experiences with UFOs? Have you had encounters like we've had? We're so interested to hear from you too. So definitely hit us up on our social medias because we love communicating with you guys. We love hearing from you and getting your feedback. And
it is a plug for us. Psychic Visions Podcast at Instagram is our Instagram handle.
That's right. Psychic Visions Podcast. Find us there. We're so looking forward to all the future episodes that we have in store for you guys.
We thank you so much, guys. Until next time.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Psychic Visions. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to follow Psychic Visions Podcast on Instagram. Psychic Visions Podcast is a production of Electricast Media.
Our executive producers are Mark Netter and Peter Rafelson. If you like our show and enjoy what you hear, please subscribe and give us a rating wherever you enjoy podcasts. And always remember, harness your inner power.
Today is working for me. Do you believe that for yourself? Hey, I'm Pastor Julie, and I want to empower you through encouragement. Inviting you to my podcast, Big Truth Encouragement, where I unpack living a faith-filled life. I created my podcast for the ladies, but gentlemen, you'll gain something too. So I invite you to listen to Big Truth Encouragement on Electricast and any platform where you listen to your podcast.
Electricast. Electricast.